everyone. Welcome to Work Love Wednesday. Samm and Smelter here for Work Love Wednesday. It is time for Work Love Wednesday. Hi everyone. Welcome to Work Love Wednesday. I hope you're having a fantastic week. It is 11 a.m. and this is the new time for Work Love Live. I said that I was leaning towards this time frame because I wanted to make sure those of you that are on the West Coast can tune in at a time that's actually somewhat reasonable. So it's 8 a.m. your time, 11 a.m. our time, and here we are. So this week I want to talk about ripples. And you might have seen that in the little bit of the blurb. It's a word that I've been using a lot. So whether I've been blogging or vlogging or whatever I've been doing, I keep talking about these ripples, creating these ripples, having this impact of ripples. And the reason is because I found that the ripples that we cause in our lives, when I go back on a healing process with anyone, whether it's a professional who's finding themselves very disengaged, talking to my friends, even myself, it's realizing that there's a starting point of a ripple that has occurred where somebody just was not intentional or aware. And I say this because we're not perfect all the time. We're going to do things that are going to hurt people, and that happens. But we have the ability to go back and help salvage that. What happens when we have an interaction that kind of rubs us the wrong way? We basically have a ripple that we have to heal on our own, which when I say that, it means it's a story that we tell ourselves times a gazillion hundred, overanalyzed a gazillion times, and then morphed into some kind of takeaway, which then starts this kind of timeline of who we end up becoming and how we start acting and how we're triggered by certain scenarios. And so when we're mindful of our actions and mindful of the ripples we're putting out into the world, we have the ability to go back, even in a situation where we possibly start a ripple that we're not very proud of or not intending to do, and share our side of the story, which that aspect alone can change everything. And so what am I talking about? Let's put this in a more realistic term. So this last week, well, number one, it's been a struggle. The struggle has been real. I will tell you that this has been the summer of #parenting lessons. Every new element with the girls, every new level is a challenge. It's a beautiful challenge, but it is a challenge. And it comes from a challenge of wanting to be the best parent that I can be, help them be the best person that they can be. And so really trying to find the balance in certain scenarios of making sure you show love and compassion, but also have a sense of accountability, and trying to understand what is the best way to help them grow as people and becoming who they're meant to be in this world to do the amazingness. At the same time, creating that sense of balance of not trying to create mini-mes. And I've talked about that before, where I think sometimes we give birth to children, we have children, and we assume because they're our offspring that they are our mini versions, that they're our next attempt at doing things better and helping them learn the lessons sooner. And they're not. They're their own beautiful, unique individuals, and we have to nurture them and help them encounter and take on all the obstacles that they have going on. So I say this all because for me in the last week, it's been very mindful to me of the ripples that I send, especially when I'm frustrated as a parent, especially when situations are stressful and I'm tired, what I'm sending to my children. And I focus this on children because this was kind of the starting point for me with ripples. In fact, a lot of it came down to talking about diversity stories. I saw a good friend, Marvin Worthy, speak it's probably a couple years now. Time flies so fast. But I saw him speak on the topic of diversity, and he did this demonstration very quickly, but very powerfully, showing how how we can communicate to our children our biases without even knowing, just small little gestures, like when we squeeze hands, when we encourage people to take on certain scenarios or not take on different scenarios, but just in the little, very small gestures, what can be communicated in that moment. And so for me, it made me realize that, our biases are communicated through those small little gestures. And so a squeeze of a hand, encouraging or discouraging, is sending a ripple, is communicating to a child if something's okay or not okay, if something about them is okay or not okay. And so that's how we have this passing on of this unsaid knowledge or unsaid habits or belief systems. And so that continues. And so as we're growing as adults, there are moments even for me today where somebody has a reaction or has a conversation with me and they're sending ripples. I would like to say that I'm really great about going back to situations that are highly emotionally charged and wanting to sit down and fully understand their story to stop the story that I'm telling myself, but that's not always the case. And so even on those days, there's ripples that happen. And hopefully I have the practices in place that they're not damaging. But for many, it can really take a hit on those concepts of insecurities around self-worth. And we've seen that happen time and time again. I'm sure you've experienced that before, that the way people have perceived you or judged you, or the way that they have communicated to you and the way it's landed on you, has resulted in you viewing yourself differently, making modifications to the way that you live your life. And those are ripples in effect. And so this past week, I actually, had the privilege of being able to see this perception happening to another child that's not one of my own, where it's just so close and intimate that it's hard to sometimes separate. There's just so much emotion involved. And watching a child having one of these kind of ripple moments as an adult was speaking to them, and knowing that the adult had the best intention in the world, but feeling from the child the anxiety, the uncertainty, the questioning of who they are and what they should be and how they should act. And so there was a ripple moment occurring, and how it's going to play out when that young person goes to adulthood, only time will tell as they enter the workforce. But knowing that the way that we confront situations, the way that we interact with each other, we have a strong urge, very innate in our nature, to connect with each other. We need connection. But in those times of connection, in those moments, are also these powerful possibilities and opportunities for us to be impacted in a way that can send us on a detour. Or, I know I talked about this before, riding on the country roads, not taking the most direct path to where we want to be, but having almost kind of a beautiful scenic detour through lessons that will have some scary moments, some beautiful moments. And that's a lot of, I believe, the path that I have been on. And so I just wanted to share with you, as someone, number one, who's struggling with making sure that I'm putting the ripples out that I want to, as a mother, in the role that I think is probably the most vulnerable for me, is probably being a mother and being a wife, and wanting to be that person to those people that mean the most to me, and making sure that when I'm frustrated, I go back, and knowing that I will never be perfect, but showing them that they don't have to be perfect, letting them know that I want them to embrace who they are completely. And so I'm guessing this week, I just challenge you to take a moment and think about, what interactions have you had this week that you could feel from the other person that they were right there with you, whether child, whether adult, right there with you, connected with you in that moment. And there was something happening for you, but then there was also the receiving that was happening on the other end. And if you were giving as a reaction of something you were processing, an emotional outburst from being tired or stressed, knowing that that other person was receiving, and how is that impacting them? And do I want to circle back to just own what I can own? It's not your job to process everything for them, but do I need to cycle back and make sure I give them the 2 cents of my story, so as they are overanalyzing it 100 times and possibly for the rest of their life, which we know happens, little stupid incidents occur that happened to me when I was a child, and I can still say I'm processing them and thinking about them today. But thinking about that and knowing that, is there something and a chance that you want to go back and be more intentional about a ripple that you probably put out there? Because I truly believe if all of us are intentional about our ripples, we will start to see changes in our workplaces, in our lives, in the world, all of us starting to shift things in that direction. So those are my thoughts for today. The other thing that I want to tell you is, so excited, but all 33 episodes so far for Work Love Wednesday are now on the Leadership Arts YouTube channel. So we'll still be doing live every week here. They'll start dropping on YouTube, and they'll also start dropping on the blog on our website, leadershipisart.com. And so if you want to follow and always get updates about these videos, the best way to do that is to go to our website and subscribe to the blog, because then every time that I post one of these videos with probably a couple little bit notes, you'll get a little ping so that you'll know and you can come back and watch these videos. But as always, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to watch here. If you are watching later, make sure you hit #replay or say hello, or send me a message privately and just say, hey, thanks for the message, or that did not vibe with me at all, or here are some other thoughts to consider. Got the word, to consider, because I love the input that we have together. And in fact, I really am trying to be intentional, and I've set the intention for Work Love Wednesday to be a place where I share with you the reflections that I'm having about things I'm experiencing in life where growth actually occurs. And through sharing, I'm learning, but also learning together. I know that people have shared with me that they take things from, and it helps add a couple of thoughts to their reflections that they're having occur. But also when you reflect back to me, it's so powerful. In fact, yesterday I was meeting with a colleague about something completely different, but we ended up talking about some of these struggles that I've been having, and her insights that she had were just, wow. I needed to hear those. And people, they always come into your life when you need them. There's always a reason and a purpose that they're there. And we just have to be ready to listen and take it in and take all those pieces together to make sense of it all. So have a great week, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye.